Hi, Ginger. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Connie.
So, Ginger, I just want to start out by asking you why you personally started to seek holistic care. Give us a little background about you and the struggles you had before the program.
Sure. So basically, I've had symptoms most of my life. I've had allergies, I've had skin rashes. Um, you know, Back in 2017, 2018, I went through a couple major medical issues, and my symptoms really started to worsen. And I was having breathing problems. The doctors were putting me on medication. And that's right around the time I was finally diagnosed as maybe having an autoimmune disease. I want to stress the maybe because it was kind of like, you might have this, you might have that. And it wasn't really 100% of a diagnosis. And the doctors put me on medication. They put me on methotrexate. They put me on steroids. And right around that time, I had a really bad reaction to those medicines. And my symptoms began to worsen. And I got to the point where my pituitary gland shut down. So my cortisol, my hormones, my thyroid, everything was shutting down. And I basically was dying. And I couldn't walk from one side of the building to the other at work. And I had gone from running 5Ks to now I could hardly, walk and breathe. And so I was very, very scared. Fear was a big part of my prior life. I had a lot of fears that I carried with me. I went to the rheumatologist. They took me off the medications and they were basically like, well, there's no cure and you're going to have to get on other medications. And they had bad side effects. And I was like crying and I was just like, no, this can't be the only solution. And I really pushed my rheumatologist for another solution. I was like, is there anything else I can do? Is there anything else out there for me that I can try? There has to be something else. And so finally she was like, yes, well, you can try functional medicine and try some breathing exercises and some yoga. And she kind of, gave some other options, but she was like, but I don't have any references and you got to do your own research and you got to figure it out yourself. And so that's when I started, doing the research, and I actually found you twice, Dr. Connie. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but, and of course, during this time, I was praying for guidance and wisdom to know what to do. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And, I did what most people do. I waited until I was at the end of my ropes, and then I asked God for help. And I really should have done that in the beginning. But of course, I waited until the end. And I really do think that your program and finding you, Dr. Connie, was an answer to my prayers. And I still think that today definitely was an answer from God. And your program, really, I found you two ways. I found you through Googling autoimmune disease yoga online and found you that way. And I literally, your yoga is what helped me start moving again. I started a little bit each day. And then each day I gained more confidence in myself and more strength. And I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it until I could do more. And that's when I really learned about mind and body connection and how, because I used to think yoga was a joke. I was like, whatever, I don't understand it. But when I really needed it and just started giving it a try, that's when I really learned about mind and body connection. And then I found you again when I started researching at the website for the Institute of Functional Medicine. And you popped up and I was like, hey, there's that lady again. And turns out you live in the same state as me. And I was like, okay, God, this is definitely from you. This is a sign from you. I've heard it twice now. And so, yeah, so I met you. I actually was very hesitant. I'm sure you remember this. I had a call with you and then I met you in person. And, I wanted to cover all of the checks and balances and make sure I was, going to be okay with this program. And that's when I decided to go this route because I believed in you and because you reminded me of hope. You encouraged me that I have the power to control my health journey. And no one else had ever talked to me this way. All the other doctors, as we know, when we go, it's kind of negative. They basically say, well, there's no cure for your autoimmune disease and you got to take this medicine or else, And with you, there was hope again. And a lot of what you talk about in your program and what you described to me aligned with my faith. And, so I decided to invest in myself and to invest in this program. And I'm really glad that I did.
So I'm going to kind of trace you back at that time. And I remember going through the timeline because you're a super smart woman. And there was a lot of analysis that you wanted. You wanted black and white answers to everything. And you know what? You're one of the few patients that I meet who really did the research about autoimmunity and all the things, food sensitivities to all the testing. And you've actually had a lot of the testing done. And you came to me with so much fear around food, and you were taking supplements and you were getting marginal results. So you had this intellectual understanding of your physiology, but still wasn't getting better. And I remember you were very cynical. You were very guarded. There was a wall all around you. Your facial expression is not as soft as it is today. There was a lot of redness. There was a lot of insecurity around your dryness in your knuckles. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And what we talked about wasn't that, oh, I'm going to be able to fix you. I think I asked you a lot about childhood relationships you had and a lot of the struggles that you had. And then I kind of walked you through the timeline. There was a lot of emotionally charged things that I asked you that I can tell in that meeting nobody's ever asked you before. You were doing your best to do the right and to do right by the people you love the most, which was your family. It was your parents, but you were estranged at the time. Your sister was sick, and you were around and constantly trying to please everybody. And so that's the state that I found you in. And there was a lot of composure, but then underneath the composure, there was a lot of chaos. And there was Ginger at the core, a little girl just scared to death about everything.
Yes.
Including the program. I remember you left and then you had to think about it. And I knew you were going to weigh in all your options, but you decided to sign up and you decided to go forward. And I always joke, Ginger, you're my, I don't know. If anything was founded, you made that, you were my God's calling too, because you just prompted me of all the things that I needed to pull together. It's almost like I found another me in another human being. And then I was like, oh my gosh, here's what she needs. Because childhood trauma, all the hurts, all the guards, all the analysis, the density in our thinking, we were so similar. I was like, I can get her. I got you. I totally understand you at that level. And I think it wasn't spoken. I don't think I tried to convince you to do the program. It was more of a connection at the spiritual level. It was deeper than that. You know what I mean?
It was. Yeah. I do remember too, breaking down and crying in your office. And I immediately started apologizing. And I was like, I'm sorry. This is not professional. And you're the first person who has ever said this to me, but you were like, don't apologize for crying. It's okay to cry. And that was, because we're taught when we're younger to repress our feelings and things like that. And so, that's one of the things, challenges that I have been dealing with, is just repressing a lot of emotion and feelings. And that just always stands out to me, that, defining moment.
So Ginger, I just want you to say, you are this amazing, I can see right through when I met you, and there was a lot of censorship, or there was a lot of, I don't know, you know how we're actors in our lives, right? We only, like you said, you don't want to fall apart in front of a stranger. So you don't want to cry, but crying is completely natural. We should be beings, right? Human beings, not human doers. And you and I have spent our whole lives just doing, And I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that you were able to shift in your perspective and your beliefs that really allowed you to somewhat open your heart and find even what that was? Because I see you blossoming now, and I see you almost warming up, where there is color to your life now.
Yeah, definitely.
So can you describe what was the perspective shift that was the most profound for you?
I will say there's so many things we don't have enough time to even go through, because I've learned a lot, because I've actually been doing this program for more than a year. So there's so many things I've changed in my life. But one thing that really stands out kind of goes back to what I just talked about, where with, allowing myself to express my feelings and emotions, because when I was younger, and our parents do the best that they can, right? And in all fairness, but when I was younger, I wasn't really allowed to express myself emotionally, and I almost thought it was like bad to show your emotions and to cry. And society, there's all these false perceptions about women should be seen and not heard, and big girls don't cry, big men don't cry, and there's just a lot of false perceptions out there. And for me, I think the biggest thing was what you talked about was, and I guess I could summarize it and say, pain has purpose. But you have to learn, the key is not to ruminate in that pain. And the key is to allow your body to be in that moment and feel it and process whatever it is that you need to process, whatever feelings or thoughts that you're having at the time. And when I say pain, I mean, it could be anything, like spiritual pain, mental, physical, any kind of pain. And just allowing your body to really process what it needs to go through, the trauma, whatever you've had in your life. You really need to detox and process that. Otherwise, if you're repressing those feelings and those emotions, they're sitting in your body, and it can become disease. I really do believe that now. Because what I've seen is, when I've sat with myself and really, allowed myself to sit in silence, which is something I never did before this program, and just to sit in silence with no distractions, no electronic devices, nothing, and just really journal my thoughts and really process my thoughts and think about, well, how do I feel about this? What am I thinking? What am I really thinking here? Like, this is what society thinks, but what do I think? Like, what do I really think about this? And doing that has allowed me to really process and just like cry and like let things out and just really process my emotions. And I have seen my body start to heal.
So if I may ask you, do you remember when you first came to me, the functional medicine, right? You
Yes.
wanted to heal yourself.
Yes.
So is it fair to say that you believe that your physiology was separate from your psychology and your emotions too? Like, it wasn't all related. Like, what does my childhood trauma have anything to do with it, right? You just wanted to be fixed, but you didn't know how.
Yeah, I will say that I knew that everything in my body physically was connected. And I knew that going to all these different doctors, for like the dermatologist, the rheumatologist, the endocrinologist, like, I knew in my heart that wasn't right. Like, they should all be working together, or at least I should have one doctor where I can go to and they can look at me as a whole person. I knew that everything was connected, but I didn't know what the underlying connection was that was causing the disease. That's what I couldn't figure out. And I was told, by other doctors and things, other functional medicine doctors, that it could be your gut, because your gut is like your second brain, and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that is true, but your program was the first program that really allowed me to connect the dots between like emotional and like trauma and thoughts and feelings. Like, I had never really heard about that before. And that is kind of what really I believe now is the underlying cause of a lot of my disease and my whatever you want to call it. I never did connect those dots previously, but I knew that like physically everything was connected. It had to be. All my symptoms were in different parts of my body, but it had to be connected. But the doctors didn't look at me that way.
They just kind of tore you apart.
Yeah, it was like, if you have a skin rash, then you got to go to the dermatologist. If you have gut issues, then you got to go to the GI doctor. But it was like nobody was really looking at me holistically like your program does.
Yeah, but you realized too that even though the program itself was holistic, The number one, the most important ingredient was ginger.
Yes.
And it was the internal or inner awakening is what I call it. Unless she was willing to go in there. Now, looking at your future, Ginger, how do you feel about your health, your relationships, and your future career? Like, tell me and describe to me about what you gained. Like, I don't care about like, oh, I feel better, more energy. Okay, those are transient things. But I want to know about Ginger's confidence levels in her relationships, in knowing who she is. And then, like you said, self-care routine that comes from truly self-love. And I know you're still working on that.
Yes.
I want to know the deeper roots that allow you to take action from being the person, the real person that you are, and be fully aligned with the truth of you. So explain that to me.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the exercises that we did in your program, Dr. Connie, was to come up with values and like what were the most important values for each of us in the program, and kind of like what is our center, right? Like what means the most, what is the most important thing for me, myself. And for me, the two values that I really still focus on now is, the center of my life is Jesus Christ. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And then the second thing is self-care, and really just, self-awareness, self-care, like all those self things, like self-control, self-respect. There's a common theme here. It's all self, right? Those are the things that are like my core. And so once everything aligns with that, then I just believe that everything else is going to fall in place. Because if it aligns with my faith and it aligns with me and my self-care and my self-love and respect for myself, then everything will align, everything will be fine. And believing in myself, these are all new things, right, that I've discovered over the past, few months. And that's just really what it all comes down to. But I think the most part is mindfulness, which to me is being really just self-aware. And the self-discovery that I've done in this program has been deep. Like, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but, I'm not ashamed of it. Is that basically I didn't know myself very well before this program. Like during this program, I have now become more self-aware. I'm more aware of who I am, what my goals are, and where I want to go in the next 1 to 5 years. And I think being self-aware and having that self-love and self-care for yourself allows you to have more self-confidence, because you accept yourself and you accept yourself for who you are. And if no one else doesn't accept me for who I am, then I don't care. Then, that doesn't matter to me, because I don't need their validation. And then all the other relationships, it spills over into the other relationships in my life, right? Because I'm at a place where I'm comfortable with myself. I respect myself. I'm comfortable. I understand where I am, who I am. And that grace that I'm giving to myself, it's just easier for me to share that with other people and my other relationships, like at work, my personal relationships. It's easier because I have that acceptance of myself. And I would say that's probably the one thing that I will take with me for the rest of my life.
And how are you physically with your autoimmune symptoms? Where are you mentally, emotionally, and your relationship with your health today?
Yeah, so physically, I'm definitely better than I was like a year and a half ago. I'm, doing things. I started hiking again because a couple of years ago, I stopped running and stopped hiking, and I was afraid of everything. And I've been hiking, not a lot, but I do occasionally go hiking. I do yoga every day. I do challenging yoga. And some days I just feel like doing chair yoga. I really just go by what I feel like that day. And I don't really put any expectations on myself like I used to. I just allow myself to, just be, and like whatever I feel like doing that day, I'll do it. But I would say that I actually enjoy doing self-care. I enjoy doing meditation every day. When I wake up, I do meditation. Sometimes I do it in the afternoons, and sometimes I do it before I go to sleep.
So do you feel like you are healthy enough today to be able to do all those things and live your life in complete freedom?
Yes, yes. I mean, I take each day at a time, and I definitely feel like I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I've actually said that to my rheumatologist, and she just kind of looked at me like what? But I don't need her validation. I don't need other people's validation. Like, I know I am the healthiest person I've ever been, and the reason why is because of my autoimmune diagnosis and my disease, because that was the catalyst that allowed me to make changes in my life for the better. And had I not had that, I would have never done this program. I would have never done things in my life that would help me.
If you were to leave a comment for those who are on the fence about the program, they don't really know what this program is, like a year and a half ago when you enrolled in it, what would you say to them to say, just go forward and have faith that, because without faith, you can't really heal, right?
Right. Well, I mean, the only thing I can do is share like kind of what my perspective was. And I know for me, I looked at it as I look at this program as an investment in me. I tried a lot of other things, and it was at the point where and probably where a lot of other people are that are listening, where you're kind of at the end of your ropes, and you're like, well, if I don't try this, then what else am I going to do? And for me, it was an investment in my life. It was an investment in my quality of life. And that really was like the first kind of step for me in this program. And I guess the other thing I would like to say is that, and I've learned this recently, is that the only relationship that you're guaranteed to have your entire life is the one you have with yourself. Everyone else will come and go. Your friends, your parents, your husband, your wife, your children, people come and go, but you will always have a relationship with yourself. So if you don't love yourself, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't spend time with yourself and develop a relationship with yourself, then how do you expect to have a relationship with anyone else?
Yeah. That is like the best parting words that I couldn't, that is exactly what this journey is all about, right?
Right.
Disempowered victimhood is something that is so subconscious for all of us. And I think truly you've shifted into being self-empowered healer. And I have no doubt, Ginger, that you now have all the tools that you need to continue to evolve and grow in your lifetime and heal yourself, despite whatever, with full confidence, knowing that you'll always be okay because of your commitment to yourself. And that's where it starts, right?
That's where it starts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much. You've been such a blessing to me. I don't know if you know that. And I know I've told you this too. So from the bottom of my heart, and I know this recording will help so many of the people that are kind of struggling, even if they don't sign up for the program, that there is this vastness that it comes down to our ability to heal ourselves. And if we're not aligned, nothing can ever happen. It doesn't matter what diet, supplements, or what have you. The shift is on the inside, right?
Yes.
So thank you so much, Ginger. Love you so much. And I will see you guys soon.
Thank you, Dr. Connie. I love you. Bye-bye.